Everybody, welcome to the Man Cave. My name is Danny Jay. You're right here on the DJB Productions Network. Hit that notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and leave some comments down below. We want to hear from you. Also, if you're a gamer and you want to look at some other great content, go to twitch.tv/TheBigVitoBrand, and you can catch a show right on there as well. It's simulcasted on both production networks just for you guys. A lot of great stuff for you to check out. Of course, we have with me today, Big Vito Lagrasso.
What's going on, guys? And first and foremost, a happy Mother's Day to all the lovely moms who are doing it, single moms, married moms, grandmoms, moms. We just want to say happy Mother's Day. I hope you're having a great day. We're catching it late, so all the festivities should be done. Everybody should be having their cappuccinos, you know, a little Zeppeli, whatever you're going to have. And now we're going to do the Man Cave. Dan, take it away.
That's right. It is the Man Cave. We're going to celebrate all week. Why not? Because we're going to promote this all week. So just to start off the show real quick before we get into anything else, late last night, I go out to let the dog out, and there's a cop in front of my house. And he says, "Excuse me, is this your car?" And I said, "Yeah, this is my car. Why? What's the matter? What's the matter?" And he goes, "Well, I have bad news for you. Somebody hit your car." Oh, yeah. So I go down there, and man, did somebody hit my car. And in fact, they pushed it back 3 feet. They smashed it. This car, I only have it for less than 4 months. So, and not to get into a long story, but it's the second new car, because I had a new car back in August.
Right.
That when the dealership was doing some fixes on it and they were test driving it, somebody ran a red light and totaled that car. So this is car number 2 for me since August.
You know, Dan, you haven't had any luck with cars since I sold you one.
No. And the one you sold me, I hit a deer with. So that one got totaled.
And you survived. So what does that tell you?
That's what started this whole thing. You know what I mean?
It started the whole thing.
You know what I mean? But, you know, so it happens. It is what it is. But, you know,
you're not hurt. You're not hurt.
No.
The new concrete in front of the house is not hurt, right? Your wife stayed in the house. She didn't cause a scene outside. No drama, which was good. You know, and then eventually, what is the good thing of this story is that you do have somebody. They turned themselves in, which they did. There are some good people out there, and hopefully the car will be fixed quickly.
Yeah,
you don't have to miss work, and no money comes out of your pocket. You know, and it's a good thing that, you know, we bury people out there and we say what no goods, but this lady actually did the right thing. Now, whatever happened transpired for her hitting the car, taking off, going to the police department. Thank you very much for being an honest person. We're saying that here on the Man Cave.
And we only encourage that everybody in a situation like that, just man up, so to speak. Take your thing, and there's no harm, no foul. You know, things happen, and it is what it is.
You know, I told Dan when we were talking before the show. I told Dan. I said, Dan, he says, you know what? You got the lady. As long as you don't have to pay the deductible, everything is good. Don't make a big thing about it. If the car drives the way it's supposed to, hey, you're blessed. You know. So now we go back to the same thing. Yeah. Don't let your wife near the car. Every time she goes near your car, it's a Malokia. She's the Malokia queen. Dan, it's time to get rid of the wife.
Is that, or I got to get a horn? One or the other.
Well, Dan, I mean, what's going to be cheaper? Because if you get an Italian horn, those things could be expensive. A divorce only costs $99 online. So,
get through legal Zoom.
Right. And this is the Man Cave, people.
Man Cave. We're not spending money on this shit.
We're not spending money, and we're talking real stuff from the Bridgewater Inn. Yeah.
Boom. That's what we do. Well, at the time when this accident happened, everybody in my neighborhood heard it, except for me and my wife. We were sitting there watching a movie. We were watching The Stuber, which is with what's his face? Dave Bautista.
Okay.
And a really funny movie. Really funny movie.
Good.
If you're looking for a good movie to watch and laugh real hard, The Stuber is a movie to go with. And it actually ties in with what we're talking about today, because we're talking about man movies.
Excellent choice.
That's right. In the Man Cave, when you're not talking, when you're not bullshitting, you're watching television. You're watching movies. And we're going to talk about what movies are acceptable in the Man Cave.
You know, Dan, and being somebody who was on TBS, the Super Station, for guys who like movies.
That's right. That's right.
Coming to you right here. So I know a lot about that stuff. Dan, go ahead, give us your favorites and let's let it rock and roll.
My go-to of all time, and I'm not going to give you these movies in any given thing. I'm not going to in any given order, but my go-to movie. There is no better man movie in the entire universe than Lone Wolf McQuade. This stars Chuck Norris from 1983. Okay. This is the inspiration for Walker, Texas Ranger.
Right.
Okay, which was a huge hit for him for many, many years. But in this movie, he is Ranger J.J. McQuade, and he is a lone wolf character. That's very self-explanatory. And this guy is the baddest man on the planet. Every Chuck Norris meme, every Chuck Norris thing where they said, you know, Chuck Norris does this and Chuck Norris does that and whatever, it's all based on Lone Wolf McQuade because he was the baddest man on the planet. To give you an example, if you go on YouTube and you look up Lone Wolf McQuade greatest scene, right? The exact scene comes up. He gets buried alive in his truck. He's all beat up. He gets buried while he's underground. Now you got to suspend disbelief because now he's starting a car underground, shit like that. Up top, he's fighting David Carradine, who's another major player in badassery. Okay, so David Carradine's this drug lord, and he's got all his men shooting him down, and all the cops are pretty much dead except for his deputy, who is, I believe his name is David Beltran. He was on Star Trek Voyager and a couple other things.
Right.
He's pinned down. He's shot. He's got like 3-4 bullets left in a handgun, and he's going to die. It's going to happen. It's him against like 20 guys. So he's like, okay, corral type of shit. Hey, fuck it. Boom. He puts his gun on. He says, hey, assholes. And he starts shooting at the people, right? Now, meanwhile, a beaten half to death Chuck Norris, J.J. McQuade, is in his truck, which is buried underground. They buried him. Okay. He wakes up. The first thing he do, because he's a functional alcoholic, he opens up a beer and he drinks the beer, right? And they start playing this music and stuff like that. And he starts his truck. Now, this is where you suspend disbelief because he's underground. I don't know how he's starting a truck underground. In his truck, he's got superchargers. He flips on the superchargers. They start getting real bad. And he just floors it. And while these guys are going, all of a sudden the ground starts to shift. And the first thing you see are his lights coming out of the ground. And then he shoots out of the ground. They're playing this angel music where it's like, oh, and he hits like 5 guys. He comes out of his car with a shotgun. Ba-boom, ba-boom, shoots 2 guys there. He falls to the ground. His deputy runs to him. He's like, don't die on me now, damn it. Damn it, Ranger, don't die on me now. He looks up at him and says, get me a beer, kid. I said, wow. That is a man. I don't care what any movie is. I don't care if you bring down Superman. I don't care if you bring down Batman. J.J. McQuade is the man of any movie ever. So that's my go-to.
That's your go-to movie. Now, if we're talking about for guys who like movies,
yes,
I'm a Steven Seagal guy.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about back in the day, nothing like Out for Justice.
Out for Justice is the greatest thing he ever did.
Greatest movie.
Yes.
Kick-ass movie. Fight scenes galore.
Yes.
You know, and you talk about tougher than tough.
Yes.
Badder than bad. Steven Seagal represented Brooklyn like nobody else represented Brooklyn. And how you gotta do this over here. And what's going on over there? Anybody see Richie?
Yes. And wasn't that the most believable Steven Seagal movie I've ever really done? That's
yeah. I mean, and Steven Seagal never lost a fight. Never even see him take a bump. Never see him take a hit. And you know what? The one movie who, like, you know, really, I was like, Steve, what's going on? Where was he fought the black guy? What's his name? Eminem?
No, that's a white kid. What are you talking about?
The black bald-headed guy who was in the movie with, and you actually see Steve get his ass kicked a little bit. I can't.
You talking about Common or 50 Cent, or who are you talking about?
No, not Common.
No.
It wasn't 50 Cent. He's a nice looking black. He's a nice looking black guy. I can't
Rapper?
think of his name.
He's a rapper?
Yeah.
I can't think of it.
And it was the one movie where the first movie I ever seen with Steven Seagal actually got his ass kicked a little bit, and he actually. I mean, he'd been out of the movie business,
Right.
and but then when he made a comeback with this kid in this movie, I can't think of the name of it.
And it wasn't what's his name? No, I think he's too old. I was going to say it wasn't Mama Said Knock You Out. It wasn't him, right?
I don't think so. It was
No, LL Cool J. It wasn't LL Cool J.
No, it wasn't LL Cool J. It wasn't him. It was the other kid who looked just as good as him. But I can't think of his name. But Steven Seagal movies. And then once Steven Seagal put on all this weight and his hairpiece started looking much more fake, and the eyebrows. And then when he put on, he's got to be close to 300 pounds in those movies. You were talking he was 190, 200 soaking wet where he was moving.
Yeah.
And then now he walks around with the black trench, the black karate jacket. He hardly moves, but you could tell he's got power in his movement. But, whatever happened, to him and Kelly LeBrock in Staten Island, I don't know. But ruined him.
Well, I'll tell you, in Out for Justice, which is honestly one of his best movies.
One of his best movies.
His best movies. Richie will go down in history as one of my top villains of all time. And I'm including the Joker. I'm including guys like Lex Luthor. I'm including guys like Johnny Ringo in Tombstone, which is another movie I'm going to talk about.
But I don't know what his name is, the actor.
I forget his name. He's in a lot of stuff, though.
He was in a lot of key movies. He played Sammy the Bull in one of the Gotti movies.
Yes, and you know what? He played Al Capone in Untouchables, the series.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
And he did a good job on playing the villain. And he did a good job in Gotti. Being that he stayed with that Italian thing, and that was kind of his forte. But even like when he went out in different movies, I think he did an army movie. I'm not sure the name. Yeah. He did do an army movie, and he did a couple other films. But the Gotti movie where he played Sammy the Bull, he did a good job.
Yeah, he's a great. But as Richie, what a villain! What a villain! And he was like he says to the one girl, and it kind of dates the movie a little bit, but she says something like she's not going to do any drugs. She don't want to do any drugs with him. And he goes, "What are you, a regular Nancy fucking Raybush?" which is
you're gonna turn me down. You're not gonna turn me down, right, baby?
You're gonna turn me down, right? I'm Richie. Yeah,
Richie.
He was so good. What a great movie that was. My second movie, and I just mentioned it, was Tombstone, which in my eyes, going back with all westerns, one of the greatest westerns ever made, in my eyes.
I think that, and I got Wedding Crashers.
Okay.
As a good movie. Yeah. I mean, you talk about a guy movie where you're having a good time and you're doing your thing and you're having you're partying and you're enjoying life. And then, you got I just had it on the tip of my tongue. It was Wedding Crashers, and then Billy Jack, the first tough guy movie from
You're talking about the original one. Yeah.
The original Billy Jack, the Indian movie. I know people, you might not watch this movie but when you talk about tough guys, guys who are hand-to-hand combat,
he was.
This was the first of his generation because it went from Billy Jack to Chuck Norris, and Bruce Lee was right before him. So he was in that Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, Billy Jack era. And
Billy Jack was a unique character and a unique person because that was a Native American.
Yes.
Who's not spotlighted in anything. And he kicked a lot of ass. And one of his best movies, which goes into another great movie for the man cave, was Walking Tall.
Yes.
The original was phenomenal. But then Dwayne Johnson does the remake. And what a remake did he do?
That was one of my favorite movies. I know Walking Tall, like you said, with Dwayne Johnson. You talk about realism and somebody who went from a small town, war hero, goes in, he's with his buddies. You could tell the jealousy from the rich guy and the guy who was, all everything. And it just played out to where it was a good thing. It was a lot of tough, good upbringing. It showed a lot of
Yeah.
country, a lot of USA, a lot of you
Hmm.
know. I guess how would you say it? I guess
Well,
the
I mean,
best
it's based on a true story.
yes.
It's based on a true story, and he's a guy who comes back from war. He's a decorated war veteran, and he comes back to his town, his hometown, which a lot of his old buddies are still there, but people take their own direction in life. And one of his guys that he used to be friends with is not so great of a guy anymore.
No.
And he's taken over the town, so to speak, blah, blah, blah. And he comes back in there and he said, you know what? This is not cool, blah, blah, blah. And he sees that the law in the town are not really doing anything. They're on the take, stuff like that.
Right.
So he tends to take things into his own hands. And I think he becomes a sheriff, if I'm not mistaken.
He does
He
become
became,
sheriff.
he became the sheriff. And his big forte was he used to carry a 2x4. He didn't carry a gun. He carried a 2x4. And this son of a bitch was using this 2x4 upside people's heads and in their cars and everything. And he made a message that rang clear to everybody in that town.
Well, when you talk about it, and his big thing during the movie was we're going to walk tall in this town.
Yes.
We're going to walk tall. And if America and people had those kind of standards in everyday life, I
Yes.
think we'd be in a lot better shape than what we are right now, especially with, we're not knocking nobody here on the man cave. We're just talking about, how perception is and what you
Yeah.
see. And, when you look at what today's crisis is, if the people who are in charge had some of those values or thought more of those values instead of economic and money and politics,
Right.
maybe we'd be in a little bit better shape with this coronavirus and everybody being locked up in their houses and
Potentially.
different states abiding by different rules and nobody knows what to do and nobody knows how to do it. Did you see today that in Florida, in Jacksonville, the police cleared out the whole beach because they weren't abiding by social distancing? They closed the whole beach. Beaches are closed.
Well, you know what, though, not for nothing. It's hard on a beach to say it's open to the public and expect social distancing. So I kind of have to rule on the part of shame on you, Jacksonville, for opening up in the first place, because what did you expect? It's physically impossible to say to how many thousands of people
And that's
are
what
in
that
that
was.
Jacksonville area that are dying to go to the beach. Let's not say it's like it closed for a week. Stuff's been closed down. People are quarantined and they're dying to go out. And then you open the floodgates. Well, when you open the floodgates, water's going to come through.
And coronavirus has skyrocketed here in Florida. Now we're in a unique situation. Now I know in PA where you are, they closed down till June 4th.
Yeah.
Over here, they're opening up businesses, but we are on lockdown for another 2 months.
Right.
So it's like yay we're going and yay we're taking a step back. And this is not directing anything towards wrestling or anything, but it's a very essential point.
Yeah.
When they made wrestling essential here in the state of Florida,
Yes.
how could you name it essential and close doctors' offices, close salons, close certain businesses? And wrestling's not bringing us an income, but it's the almighty dollar and a lot of politics. And, we're not naming names, but we're just saying the way it is. Now, Monday here in Florida, things are supposed to open up, but the coronaviruses have skyrocketed. So how do you, what do you do?
The problem is, and I'll tell you straight up, there is, you say, hey, why are we closing businesses? Why are we staying at home? Why are we wearing masks? That type of thing. And I'll tell you one thing, in a very scientific way, without having any kind of thing to back anything else up, the best way to stop a cold from spreading is to stop the people from being around to spread it.
Right.
Right or wrong. So there's your quarantine. Putting a mask on. There's many people out there who say, hey, you know what? Those masks don't work. But you know what? If the government went to everybody and said, hey, we don't know what you do. Pray to God. You know the kind of uproar you would have? This is a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And you know what? You're probably less likely to catch something with a mask than you are without it. So
No, you're true.
take any odd you get. You know, what I mean, that's what it comes down to. Now, I mean, I had this, and I'm a diabetic. So when swine flu came around, and swine flu was a bad thing, they said, you know, Dan, you're diabetic. Get up there with the senior citizens and get your shot before anybody else. I said, all right. And I took the shot. You know what? I got swine flu for 2 days. I had swine flu, and I was deathly sick. I was in bed. I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days straight. But you know what? I got through it, and I never got it again.
You know, and people don't take some things seriously, and people they laugh at things and they think, it's not going to happen to me. So here's a dilemma I have in my house. Okay, Dan, you could appreciate it because you know my situation. Okay, so we have my wife who has a stroke, has asthma. Okay,
Yeah.
so I am an essential worker. I'm not going to say how or what, but I do work in an essential environment.
Yeah.
I've been protecting myself for 7-8 weeks. Okay, so now that we're opening up the state, we're opening up this, but we're closing back things. I've been playing ball. Before this, I was going to play ball 5-6 days a week. I was playing ball again. And I got to be where I was a step away from making the travel team here and doing the stuff and doing everything I wanted. Now they opened up playing ball again. Now I'm still working. They opened up ball, but they closed up businesses. So now what do? Do you go play ball, or do you sit back a little bit and wait? Here's the dilemma. I mean, I've been in the mix today. I went to Walmart. I had to wear a mask. I actually waited online to go shopping today. It's Mother's Day. I waited online. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I go to work. I wear a mask. I have to go to Walgreens, CVS, pick up prescriptions, go do the thing. I wear a mask. But then the second thing, I'm out there hustling and doing my thing. So why shouldn't I play ball? And why shouldn't I? I'm already exposed, but then you're playing ball, you're grabbing the ball, this and that. And you're like, all right, 50-50 hindsight, you know, God forbid. It's very tough. I know in your situation, Dan, you know, you are on lockdown and the state is on lockdown. You're still working from home. You still have to go to your other jobs, you know, and it's hard on you, especially being in the house with 3 different people, 3 different personalities, everybody trying to base themselves. There's no school. You know, the wife is home also. She's working.
Well, you know what, though? Let me tell you. And I'm essential. I'm an essential worker. I work for UPS. So I'm every morning. I'm out. Okay. Now, I wear the masks. I have a compromised immune system. So if anybody's going to get it in my house, it's going to be me before anybody else.
Right.
Okay. Now, do I say, like, going to what your question was, you know, do I play ball or do I sit back? I mean, you could play ball for a little bit and then have a big uprising in cases and then have it shut down again. Or you can, like, say, you know what? Let me just take this time to back it up and then go from there. Now, with you and your wife, Noelle, it's the 2 of you there. You got the dog, you know, et cetera, and you guys can hang out and stuff like that. Some people are like, oh, I can't get out of this house. I got to get out of this house. I want to go to this. I want to go there. I don't want to do anything. So let me tell you something. On my right hand, on my mother's grave, when I tell you I could do this for another year, and I'll tell you why. Because I have more time with my family now than I ever did. And I think, honestly, people are not looking at what they have in front of them.
Right.
They're taking for granted this time that is being granted to them, in a sense. You know, in a way, and this is not the case because this is just nature and stuff happening, but in a way, this is like a gift to people, in a sense, to say, hey, you know what? With the hustle and bustle of everything we do, paying bills, working jobs, I do 19 effing shows on this network on my free time that I don't have, okay? Because I work 3 jobs, right? And all this other stuff. And I got to keep my health up and stuff like that and whatever. To sit back and hang out with my daughters over here. We started recording this show later than normal because I was spending time with my girls. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things that, like, I'm looking at, and maybe because it's my age, because I look more at mortality now than I did when I was younger. I look more at the family than I did before, because like I said, you know, you can do all the stuff. People say, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
But you have been an ultimate family man. Always put your family first.
Yeah.
So you, Dan Boji, by staying home,
Yeah.
appreciate more than the average person because you never were home, because
Yeah.
you're always out. Now that you actually got a chance to, and this is not making a joke or being silly, but
No.
you're actually in the past 7 weeks, you've actually got to know the personalities of your daughters. You got
Mm-hmm.
to know your wife a little better. Not that you don't know each other, but everyday habits, how they act, what they do, the silliness, hiding in a box, covering themselves in things. And you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm writing on Facebook, I'm saying, look at this dork. And you're laughing, yeah, that's my little bubble. And I'll tell you, I'm
Yeah.
so proud of her, you
Yeah.
know, or whatever,
And it's the
whatever.
truth. And you know, it's like I see friends with kids and I see stuff like that. And it's like, oh, I'm worried about this. Like, my own in family, like my sister-in-law, oh, I can't wait to get out and blah, blah, blah. And this, and that. And I'm like, you know what? Look at what's right in front of you, because as soon as we can get out
Yeah.
and you're able to go everywhere, you're going to say, oh, I wish so-and-so would stay home so we could watch a movie. I wish so-and-so would do this and eat dinner with us, blah, blah, blah. And they're not going to.
No,
Do you understand what I'm saying? So like,
I hear
this
you.
this is a special gift to people to say, hey, you know what? Remember what you have now. This is why you work. This is a reminder of why we do all this.
No,
You know what I mean? In a
I
sense.
understand what you're saying, Dan. And this is coming, guys.
Yeah.
This is coming from the ultimate bachelor turned family man.
Yeah.
I was never home.
No.
And you couldn't keep me in the house. I was the ultimate clubber, ultimate go out, ultimate do everything. Since I've gotten married and a
Mhm.
change to being a family man, and you say, okay, there's no more wrestling, no more traveling. I
Right.
stayed home more. Now that I've been in the house with my wife and like, you know, we've got to stay, you know, close quarantine because of her, you know, her health.
Yeah.
But even being on more of a self quarantine now, we don't argue. We don't fight. We're used to each other. We got it, you know, I respect her space. She respects mine. We don't get in each other's heads. We do things together. We laugh together. When we get a
Mhm.
chance to go out, like yesterday and
Yeah.
the day before, we did this. I had to deposit my check. I still deposit my check at Disney, right? So I said, hey, why don't you come? Put the top down. Let's go take a sports car
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah.
So she goes, go see Disney. I said, I got to go there anyway. I'm going tonight. I don't want to do it tomorrow. So we took a ride. We saw the castle. We saw Epcot. We saw, you know, got to be around Disney. Great night. And yesterday we went out,
Mm-hmm.
got to take a sports car ride again. We did a little TikTok. We had a little time. We got to dress up a little bit, you know. And today was Mother's Day, right? Quiet day. I got up early. Hey, babe, let me go out and let me get you something. I wanted to get you something. No, you don't have to. Just stay home with me. No, we stayed in the house and I stayed home. And then finally I went shopping. I got her Mother's Day stuff like I was going to do in the morning.
Right.
She was perfectly content with her Wawa special, and,
Yeah.
right? Her fountain soda. And
Yes.
then being the keen husband that I am and knowing that she loves Disney, I got her an Elsa Anna balloon. Now,
There you go.
talk about a $2.50 value. I was king. King.
Yes. Yes.
I didn't have to,
Because you appreciate what's there. And that's what it
exactly.
comes down to.
And you know what? A good example, and I've told Dan this, and I'll say it again on this show. A good example to follow is Mr. Dan Boji, because I always watched how he was a family man and how he conducted himself. And I said when I got married, I would like to be like that, and I'm trying to follow in his footsteps. Not any, and this is not
No.
in any way saying like I you know brown nosing or saying anything, but it's true man to man, you know, admiration for what a family man is. And when I look at Dan, 3 jobs, 2 kids, wife, cars, house, maybe not always in the best of financials, but always made it work. Have to go hunting for some spare change so we can feed the family, maybe behind on some bill, but you make it work.
That's right.
And I always admired that. And I said, you know what? I want to base my marriage and base my relationship just like Dan does, because that is a good example, because he had that kind of upbringing. I did not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I learned from my dad. My dad worked 3 jobs when I was a kid. I stayed up to see my old man. Like he would come home 11 o'clock at night. So I would stay up and then watch movies with him until about 2 o'clock in the morning. So I had that time with my dad from midnight to about 2 a.m. because he worked in the morning, he worked in the afternoon, he worked overnight. So, and then obviously I saw him random days, like on the weekend, like Sundays were always a good day, blah, blah, blah. But I used to stay up just so I could see my dad and then watch. I never sleep. And I'm like kind of like my mom in that sense. I sleep on an average 4 hours a night on an average. And I've always done that from a child. And a lot of it has to do with how I conditioned myself to stay up to see my dad and stuff like that. And, you know, he worked until he couldn't work no more. And that's what happened. And I said, I'll end up doing the same thing and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, though, and this is once again, this is not a knock, but if you look behind Vito, and I'm going to bring him up real quick, real big. If you look behind V, you see a very nice plush sectional. You see a very neat house. It looks like something that if you were renting, this is what you would come into. Okay. Nice. Now, if you go into my house, it is the exact fucking opposite of that. And Vito knows because he stayed at my house. Okay. And we had a guy in here. He was doing some work. I forget what he was doing. He was putting in a meter or something like that. And my wife said, "Oh, excuse the mess. Excuse this, excuse that." We had clothes over here and we had toys over there. And it looked like a bomb hit the place. And he said, "You know what? This house is lived in. Don't ever be ashamed of that." And it's the God honest truth. He said, I said, "You know what? He's right. I live in this house. I grew up in a museum house. You've been in my parents' house.
Yeah.
And that you can't walk in 3 of the 5 rooms in there, you know, because it was kept."
Do they still have the plastic on the furniture, Dan? I love that furniture. I want it.
They do. Yeah, good look at it. When my mother was alive, you had a chance because she would filter furniture in and out like every 6 months. My dad's like, the hell with it. I'm not doing anything. And nope, don't ever come in my house. Don't walk in the rooms. I'm not doing it like my wife did, blah, blah, blah. You know, but there's rooms that like I have a dining room I ate in back in the 70s. Right. I've been in there since.
Now, people, Dan's house is lived in.
Yes.
But there was a day. It was a day, one day. And I said, I'm going to turn this place into a museum and it's going to be beautiful. I cleaned that house and
he was so bored. He was so bored. I was at work. He was home.
And after the last thing was off the floor, your wife cried. She says, "I can't believe this is my house." Dan walked in. He walked out. He thought he walked in the wrong house.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't realize what this was.
I didn't realize. And you talk about, I don't know, Dan, if you still have the markings on the
yes,
on the kitchen thing,
yes,
of everybody's house, of everybody's height.
That stays. No matter what I do in his house, that stays.
No matter what we do in that house, that stayed. That was monumental. So, and everybody did their size. And, you know, his mother-in-law, you know, I love that woman. So does Dan. She still stayed the same height. Yes. But in everybody else, you know, and she might have gotten shorter, but we never erased it. You say, "Okay, you're up here, babe." All right, good. But
and you know, it's funny too. You hung a specific family picture. I'm looking at it right now over my foyer. Right. And I'm looking at it right now. It's still there. We never touched it. It's still there. It's still there, right? I'm looking at it right now. It's still there. We never touched stuff because you know why? It's in some cases it's a lot of effort to change that stuff around, so let it stay.
Yeah. So in other words, you dust and you find out around it, and you're good.
If I take it off, the paint looks different. But getting back to movies, because that's what we were talking about.
I think we're at our time limit there.
We are at time, but we're going to do a final movie. What's a final movie for you?
I would have to say The Expendables.
Any one of them? Because they all were good.
No, they were all good. I'm saying all The Expendables.
All of them. Yeah, okay.
And Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood.
Heartbreak Ridge is a great movie.
Yes.
And nobody realizes how good that movie is. And I've gotten so many lines that I said in regular life from that movie, like as smooth as a prom queen's thighs, except not so risky. and And then Mario Van Peebles was in that movie, and he was in there doing stuff. What a great movie that was.
Mr. Jones, I'm gonna kick your ass all over this place if you don't fall out. I don't think so, man. Swede.
Yeah, and he kicked the shit out of that guy, right? Now, that's a great movie. That's a great movie to go out on. I'll tell you right now, and it's a more recent movie. If you haven't seen it, you have to see Rambo: Last Blood.
That was a good movie.
Rambo. Did you just see it? Rambo: Last Blood, which is honestly a direct sequel to First Blood. Forget all that bullshit where Rambo takes on an entire country by himself. Bullshit. Forget all that. There's like 5 of them in the middle. Forget every fucking one of them. Just watch the first one and then watch Last Blood. And in Last Blood, when I tell you, I never had a smile on my face so hard for so long watching that movie, because when I watch that, especially when you get past all the bullshit of what the lead up is and say, let's just get the Rambo fucking everybody up. And when he went underground and he did exactly like he did in the first movie, and he fucked everybody up. I said, once again, there's somebody you got to strive to be if you're going to be a man in this world. It's John J. Rambo. I'm telling you, what a great movie. Guys, comment down below. I want to hear what movies you like. What movies are good for the man cave? I mean, are you watching Star Trek? Are you watching Star Wars? Are you watching Mary Poppins? I don't know what does it for you, but what are you watching in your man cave at home? We had a great show.
Thank you. I think you did a good job.
Yeah, make sure you check out, go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You're on DJB Productions Network, which is at www.youtube.com/DJB Productions Network. Also go to twitch.tv/the Big Vito brand. They got plenty of shows on there as well, where you can talk about wrestling. You got the Mr. and Mrs., which is a great show where they just go back and forth, him and Noel. I can watch that forever and a day. And we got plenty of other stuff on here as well. So for Big V, my name is Danny Jay. Until next time, we'll catch you right here on the Man Cave.